What you are about to hear is highly classified. Pay attention and listen at all times. And most importantly, remember, after nearly a 5-month hiatus, we're back for our 7-year anniversary episode. Unfortunately, Snyder and DiDio confiscated our video rant of the travesty that is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. But that's okay, because you've got us. So for the 319th time, ladies and gentlemen, you are now entering Zone 4. And welcome back to The Zone. I'm Brant Fowler.
I'm Gordon Domowski.
I'm Chris Ventura. Hello.
I'm Mike Spider-Slayer.
and waking up from months in hibernation, I'm Captain Ron Fortier. And hey, Brant, we're back.
We're back, yeah. It's after, 5 months? Something like that.
We're like in deep freeze here or something, you know?
Well, you are in Colorado, I mean, you know.
Yeah, but there you go. Top of the course.
Yeah, and Colorado does have quite an interesting array of leisure activities, shall we say.
This is true. So, yeah, Ron's been in the deep freeze in more ways than one, I guess.
Well, he could have been skiing, Brant.
That's true. He could have been. He wasn't, but he could have been. No, I'm joking. Oh, but there's something else special about this particular episode. It's our 7-year anniversary, guys.
Yay!
Can you believe these knuckleheads have been listening to us for 7 years? I think they've...
Now that you've lost half of the listeners.
No, I think they've just got a hold of... I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I just said now that you've lost half the listeners by calling them that. Yeah, sure, I believe it.
No, I think they just got a hold of some of Ron's leisure activity. That's why they keep listening.
Oh, God. And they said it wouldn't last 6 years. Jeez, what do they know?
All right, so before...
And for our listeners, just remember, You know how certain anniversaries are like the silver anniversary or the diamond anniversary? The 7-year anniversary is the bacon anniversary.
Yeah.
There you go. I like that one.
Send us bacon if you love us. Even
Yes.
if you don't love us, send us bacon and money.
Always send us bacon and money. That's good, too. All right, so before we get too deep into it, we would like to mention that we are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. You can find every episode of Zone 4 up on comicspodcasts.com. So, there you go. All right, so what have you guys been up to in the past half year?
Holy smokes.
A lot?
Nothing. I've been just sitting on my couch for 6 months.
You want to ask that question? God.
The abbreviated version, maybe.
It's insane. I mean, I'm sitting here, looking at your agenda notes, Brant.
Yeah.
And, as we do, for the regular shows, when we wrap up an episode, each of us, gives a little bit of, hey, what we've been up to, what we got coming out, those kind of things.
Right.
And that's when I realized how long we've been off air because, I mean, the list is insane. I've got this entire separate sheet, which I'm going to save, again, for the end of the show. But Airship 27, my own publishing company, is doing great guns. And we put out a really unique book at the end of last year in time for Christmas, which, again, I'll talk a little bit more at the end of the show. I know you're familiar with the project and everything else. Mm-hmm. And then since the last time we did a Zone 4 episode, myself and my partner from Airship 27 Productions, Rob Davis, and I launched our own podcast, the Airship 27 podcast, which is part of the Zone 4 family. And it's going great guns, thanks to you, Brant. Really appreciate that. Getting a lot of new listeners all the time, and it's a lot of fun talking to new pulps. God, I mean, like I said, it's been a hectic, busy, very productive 6 months, and I'm not going to take up all the time here, but I will tell you a lot more about some of those activities at the end of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Gordon, how about you, man?
Well, it's been kind of a mixed bag. I mean, on the professional side, I've been doing a lot more freelance work, and I've been published in, I'm part of the Black Bat Mystery Volume 3 anthology from Airship 27, as well as Legends of New Pulp as well as The Adventures of Moose and Squirrel from Prose. On a personal note, it's been a little bumpy. My mom back in November had major surgery. She's doing fine. Then my aunt was killed in a car crash, and my cousin was severely injured. But my cousin's actually he's now bionic, which is really cool. He actually has. So if you mess with me, I will send my cousin Steven to do what Linkage did, which is go up in slow motion. And it's been and also with Chicago TARDIS, we raised a little over $2,600. So nice. We're things have been good, but there's it's been kind of rough. So I'm really looking forward to moving out of this really dark period.
Right.
And things are going full guns, and I can't complain, and really just looking forward to the months ahead. So
awesome. Yeah, I'm obviously very sad for your loss, and told you as we found out, but I'm glad things are picking up, and things are a little bit more positive these days. Mike, Mike, what have you been up to, man? I don't know, right?
I know, right? Again, I'm kind of the new one here when it comes to Zone 4. It's my first episode, actually, with Gordon and Ron.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy to be here with you guys. And, just the normal stuff, just doing, comic Frontline stuff for YouTube, and doing my own individual channel, Comic Book Corner 2.0. I'm up to, I think, 3,300 subscribers now, so just been heavily working on that, and, just trying to keep current in everyday's comic books in my busy, crazy world. Being a father of two, I just lost my pet Storm last week. She was a Jack Russell Terrier. She was 15 years old, so I was dealing with that this past week. So, some tough stuff, during this past month. But overall, everything's been really good. And again, I'm just happy to be here with you guys.
No, we're happy to have you, man.
Sorry about that, Mike. Yep.
Yeah, really sorry about Storm, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so as far as I go, Last Ember Press has kind of grown. We've released 2 more titles, and I'll talk about that more at the end of the show. My mom came and visited for Christmas, which was awesome. I hadn't seen her since June, and she spent 3 weeks here, so that was really cool having her here.
So what'd she think of Texas?
She actually liked it here. She was it wasn't what she expected. So you always have these preconceived notions of places before you go to them, and it's like I had the same notions. It's like I don't know what to expect, and it's a lot more normal than you might think. So
Grant's first day when he moved to Texas, he dressed as a full cowboy.
No, I did not, but I did pass a rodeo. Anyway,
as you go, yeehaw, yeah.
But no, she liked it, and we took her to Tyler, which is the bigger city, about 30 minutes away, and took her shopping and stuff like that, and she really enjoyed herself, and she just kind of enjoyed not having to deal with the day-to-day stuff and just kind of sit back and relax, and yeah, so it was really nice to have her here. But beyond that, we did a convention already this year. We'll talk more about that at the end too, and as far as life updates, that's pretty much it. I've just been going on with Comic Frontline. Lettering work, is picked back up after the holiday lull and all that stuff. So, back to the norm for me. So, now that we've covered everybody.
Yeah, I'm sure we did, Brent.
Oh, Chris, you're here. I forgot you were on.
Who's Chris?
Oh, wait, Chris is here? Damn!
We thought we hung up on you, Chris. No, go ahead. No, Chris, what have you been up to?
Well, I actually, other than my work on Comic Frontline, I'm building up my own channel a little bit again. I also started my own podcast on SoundCloud, which also is on iTunes and Stitcher now. I'm glad that Brant and I decided to hold off on my book because I completely redid it the way it was originally planned instead of the way I was changing it, and that's more for the end also. But it is coming out finally this year. Finally have an artist that I really like that I'm going to have on the book, hopefully. still in talks. Other than that, just powering through. You know, this is Tommy's second year. We had Tommy's second birthday in January, so it's dealing with being a father of one so far.
Happy birthday, Tommy.
Yeah.
Yes,
2 months
of
late.
course.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Get busy, Chris. He needs a little brother or sister.
No.
No, you don't want to be an only child. Come
Oh
on.
no, absolutely not. But not yet either.
He hears all my stories every day. I don't think he wants to. He doesn't want to dive into that right now.
No.
Mike, I have 5. Okay.
Oh Jesus, Ron.
Yeah, hey, they're all adults. So I have 5 kids and 6 grandkids. But
Wow.
I can remember back when the third one was born, and I remember looking at my wife and going, "Oh my God, now they outnumber us."
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about change of dynamics? Holy smokes! When you got 2, it's like, okay, you take this one, I'll take this one. But
Yeah.
when the third one that's it. You realize it's a losing battle.
So what happened with 4 and 5? Were you just like, well, we got 3, let's just do 4 and 5?
Well, yeah, that was it. I mean, it exponentially, it doesn't make any difference after that. The more the merrier.
Ron,
Yes,
let me
George.
just ask, were you aiming to have enough for a baseball team?
I was trying, but no, Val said, okay, 5 innings, that's enough. We're done.
Well, basketball team. There you go.
Yeah, basketball's good. Yep.
Oh, man.
Oh,
But it ain't not like being a parent, and trust me, wait to become grandparents. That's
No.
that's a joy. That's a real joy. Because then when they act up, you can send them home.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say that's why.
Yeah, I'm done with this one. Go. I'll see you next week. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh man. So let's see. 7 years. We've been through a lot. We're not going to do the whole usual go down memory lane kind of thing. We've done that every single anniversary we've ever had on this show. So we thought we would just give you guys a regular show. It's been months since we've been with you, and we talk about some cool stuff. And we're not really going to talk about too much news. There was one thing I found that I wanted to throw by you guys, which is DC's new talent workshop. Did any of you guys see this article?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Ron's apparently not too fond of it. What?
No, I spent about 30 minutes yesterday afternoon on Facebook with a couple of other professional creators talking about this. Okay.
Okay.
And it's look. If you're a young aspiring comic book creator listening to me right now, and you think that this is like the best thing since the invention of sliced bread, I've got news for you. All right. Let it go. Don't bother with it. All right. Because the truth of the matter is, DC, Marvel, and the rest of them now have gotten to the point where they're cash machines. They don't do comics because they love comics. You want to do comics because you love comics, go to the independents, okay? But if you go to work with DC and Marvel, this is what's going to happen. If you have talent, they're going to exploit the hell out of it. They're going to work you like a dog, and then after about 5 or 6 years, it's going to be time for the new wave of guys, and they're going to kick you out because you're not longer the new hot, turd that's out there. And I say this because right now, there's no dirge or lack of decent professional writers or artists in the field. I mean, most of them were booted out 10 years ago from DC and Marvel both. They're online. You want to find them? And all of a sudden, DC's like, oh, we're looking for new talent? What was the matter with the talent you had, DC?
Have you read the New 52, Ron? I mean, if you'd like to know what happened to the talent, I mean, if you would just go over the past 5 years of what DC Comics has been doing, I think I would let a few of those people go, minus a few.
Yeah, and let me just chime in with the democratic response, which is when you look at both DC and Marvel, you see a lot of reiterations of the same talent. And I know we'll talk about DC Rebirth, and Chris and I will rant appropriately, but we see that the same people are being used over and over again. There's no guarantee with these workshops that they're going to automatically be funneled into either DC or Marvel.
Oh, of course not.
I think these are great opportunities to learn the
craft.
There's a craft to writing,
Yeah.
but there's also a structure to comic writing. That you think about, having written comics and prose. two different kind of mindsets. So I see this as a good thing, if only to foster greater technical knowledge, where then someone can go off and refine their craft. So I don't think of it as the, to Ron's point, they may be cycling through hot young talent, but I think the point of this is maybe less as a feeder for DC and more to make sure that if someone wants to get into comics, they have that ability to enter, whether it's DC, Marvel, Image, what have you. So I think this is actually a good thing.
Yeah, see, that was my take on it. Considering more on the writer's side of it, because they have one for artists, one for writers. I looked at it kind of that way, as a learning tool for up and coming writers, just like you described, Gordon, where you could, kind of beef up your skills, kind of learn the industry way, or at least the DC way of doing things.
The DC way.
Yeah, the DC way. But I mean,
Well, basically, do something and then reboot every 5 years now.
But I still look at it as a positive too, just because you can talk to professionals in the game, and if there are things that you don't know, maybe you learn a few things and take that and apply it to whatever you do, whether you work for one of the mainstream companies or whether you, as Ron said, go the independent route. You have more of a rounded experience skill set.
Yeah,
afterwards.
let me just clarify something here with that.
Mm-hmm.
Just to put this out again to people listening to this, and if you saw the DC ads and notices, and you think that is the only available avenue you have to learn those skill sets, you're wrong.
Not true.
If you've been paying attention over the last 10, maybe even 15 years, most, not all, and I understand that you'd have to do a little hunting online, but most of the major universities and community colleges across the country today actually teach courses in graphic novel writing. Now, that's how far we've come in this game. And most of those courses are taught by professionals who've had experiences in the field. Let's not forget the Joe Coopert School of graphic art that's still, going strong these days. And if I'm not mistaken, a few years ago, Steve Bissett was involved with helping to launch and create an actual cartooning university in Vermont that is strictly for writing, drawing American graphics and cartoons. So there are multiple avenues out there for you to learn these things. DC hasn't invented anything new or original, or this is the only place you can learn this. I just want to put that out there, guys.
No, yeah, and you're right. And even if you're talking comic companies, Valiant actually does this thing. Last year they did a thing with Hastings where they would do a video conferencing. They would do like a 4-week thing, and each week it was like a different discipline. So like one week you'd have a writer, next week you'd have a colorist, and so on and so forth. And you could actually go there and pick up a booklet and work along with the creator talking to you through a video feed, which I think was really cool too.
Yep.
So yeah, there's definitely other avenues. I thought it was interesting that DC is kind of branching out in that way, because they're traditionally in the past decade or whatever, they've been very strict with their talent searches, where they're only done at conventions and they're only done by first come first serve, and it's been very hard to even get a word in with them. So I thought it was at least commendable that they're actually trying, regardless of the downfalls of it, like you outlined, Ron.
Right, and to look at the Marvel side, this news came out in an NPR piece when Thor #1 came out with the female Thor, that Marvel's been taking a look at cultivating, female writers and artists, and it's not just in the you're a girl, you're in, but there's also internal mentoring and skill development. The idea being, once a female creator, writer, artist, colorist leaves Marvel, they have a more complete skill set. And I think these are efforts to provide access for people who may not necessarily know about other venues, or that, say, may not be able to attend the Joe Coopert School or the cartooning university. So I think it's good to see the two majors, despite maybe some of their current content not reflecting this, at least making an effort to say, we're here to develop talent, that it's not just they're trying to avoid a Rob Liefeld, is what I'm trying to say.
That's always a good goal.
Oh, yes, please. Oh.
So Chris and Mike, any thoughts on this?
Honestly, this is they made this announcement at the exact same time that they announced Rebirth. I feel like for the past couple of years they've been using, like you said, name brand, name people for writers, artists. You didn't see any real brand new talent popping up, so maybe this is a way of bringing new talent into their world. Maybe they figure they need some fresher eyes in the books or fresher talent in the books. But I think that a lot of these new talents are probably going to be sent to the digital, the digital first kind of section first, or even Vertigo to kind of get a feel for the company before we get to see them in DC. But one thing also is, and nobody mentioned, Image once a year also takes people's takes people in to do their own comics or their own submissions as well. So
a portfolio review or whatever. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. I
think so. Yeah. But with DC and Marvel, they've been using name artists and name writers for so long. I think that first of all, I think I hear an echo.
Yeah, I'm getting the echo. So everybody check your sound.
I'm getting it. I'm getting a big echo.
I think it's Gordon's talking at the same time. He's echoing.
Yeah, it is on your end, Gordon. FYI. All right, go ahead, Chris.
But no, I think that the companies realize that maybe we should start bringing in fresh talent. Because, I mean, how many books can Brian Michael Bendis write? How many books can Jeff Johns write? And obviously Jim Lee can only draw one book at a time and be very delayed. So
that's why he's an alternating artist now.
Exactly. And now John Romita Jr. is doing a book. Oh, joy. So I think this could be a good thing if they're sincere about getting the writers into their books and not just, doing this and then, oh, we'll call you in 6 months kind of deal,
Yeah. What about you, Mike?
I look at it and I don't look into it too heavily because I don't write or draw or do anything with comic books. I only wrote a story when I was like 15 years old. But the thing is, the way I look at it in a way is I feel that DC is trying to change their image based off of, like Chris said, like Rebirth. So in a way, this is their thing of branching out. It's like, oh, we're gonna change our titles. We're gonna do this. We're changing the image of our company, and I feel this is part of that. I think that's what they're trying to do, and I agree. I think they do need some different talent out here, and because when you look at the heavy hitter writers of DC, a lot of them are higher up. Jeff Johns, especially. In my personal opinion, and I know we'll talk about it later, but Jeff Johns, if he wasn't for DC, where would that company be right now?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
True.
Like, seriously. He's the mastermind behind Rebirth, and I feel like if it wasn't for him there, this company would be going in this god-awful direction, continuing in this god-awful direction that it's in. So I just think it's a whole image ploy that they're trying to change, and that's my opinion on it.
Yeah,
I still feel if you're a creator, if you're a writer or aspiring writer, I feel that you should write the stuff you want to write, create the characters you want to create, and go the independent route. I think that's where your voice can really be heard that way, and that's my opinion.
Amen, Mike.
That's very interesting to hear from a non-creator standpoint. That's the way you feel, and thanks. I agree with you. I think that is the best way to get your voice out as well. So we're all in agreement on that, I think.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, that's
but
true.
I want to know what happened to Ian Didio.
He's still there. He's.
Oh, good.
I think he's on a leash now. Jim Lee and Jeff Johns have him on a leash now.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that when we talk about Rebirth, because he actually opened up the whole video conference thing. So we'll get to that, Ron, definitely. So that would be a great segue into Rebirth, except Rebirth is later on in the show. So we'll table that for now.
Yeah,
we'll revisit. But there's.
We we have to stick to the agenda.
Oh, of course, we got to.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
It's a professional show,
Yeah, but we want to close on that though. I think that would be a good way to close it out.
Good night, everyone.
But we will be talking a little bit about DC because we're going to talk about some movies coming out this year now. So I'm sure we're not going to. All right, before I even go there, none of us have seen them. Well, none of us have actually seen the movie, so we're not going to talk about the movie, but we're going to talk around the movie. We'll put it like that. All right, so I was just curious. There are so many comic movies coming out this year, and unless I missed any, there are 7 on the docket, including the 2 that are already out.
7.
Yeah, so I mean that's a lot of comic movies, which we could go into a whole topic on if they're flooding, the market with that, but we're not going there. I'm just curious what everybody's most anticipated film is this year, and I'm gonna rattle off all of them, and then we can converse about it. So we had Deadpool in February, which was already out. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which just came out. Captain America: Civil War, that's May. X-Men: Apocalypse, I don't remember what month. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Out of the Shadows, that's the sequel. Suicide Squad, and Doctor Strange. So, anybody that wants to start, let's go with Chris.
Captain America: Civil War for me, because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Out of the Shadows. Oh, Michael B. Space screwed up the first one. I don't care. I need to see that. Batman v Superman and Deadpool are already out. I'm not going to judge because I've seen both. So, most anticipated so far for me, it's still Captain America. I think Captain America is going to be a very strong movie. I like the way the trailer's going, which I think we're going to talk about later on a bit. So, I think Captain America is my most anticipated for this year. That's the one that I've been looking forward to since it was announced a couple of years ago. So, I'm going with that.
Okay, fair enough. Mike, what about you?
Mine would have to be Captain America: Civil War as well.
Yeah.
Just for a pure reason, Spider-Man is in it, and he's done the Marvel way. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really interested to see how they do Civil War here in the movie format compared to the comic books. It looks like a really good movie. It looks better than Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
I am a Marvel person first more than anything. I can honestly tell you, though, that when it comes to all these other movies, my least anticipated movie is probably Doctor Strange, to tell you the truth. I'm not excited about it because I'm not a huge Doctor Strange fan or a huge magic or sorcery fan or anything like that. I'm Captain America. That's where it's at right there. It's just got a lot going on, so that's why I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Okay, cool. Gordon.
Okay, well, I would have to say Civil War, because it really looks like the trailers look exciting, and I think it's knowing the way that the Marvel Cinematic Universe takes chances with its quote-unquote canon. I think this would be a really interesting movie to see. And my number 2 movie, I would say Suicide Squad, because I think it's the superhero movie that Marvel hasn't made yet. It's basically the Dirty Dozen with supervillains. And I think there's, rather than Batman v Superman, which we've made plenty of comments, I think Suicide Squad actually looks rather interesting. So those are the 2 I would be looking forward to.
Okay. And Ron, I don't really even need to ask you because I already know, but go ahead and say it for the listeners.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, obviously, and I'm really getting a kick out of this, guys, because it looks like we're going to make it unanimous, all right? And what Brant refers to and alludes to is the fact that my personal favorite comic book hero of all time is Captain America, and Marvel hasn't let us down with him. I mean, from First Avenger to the radical evolution of Winter Soldier, the arc they've done with this character, I think, is mind-blowing. It's true to the comics and the essence of the character. Every trailer I've seen for Civil War is just blown me away. And there's, besides, again, Marvel's formula for doing these is plenty of action, drama, characterization, and humor. I mean, they just have the formula down pat. They bring in brilliant directors who know what they're doing for the films or whatever. Civil War to me seems like a great next step in the story of Captain America and his rebirth into our society. I love the fact that we're going to see Ant-Man again, because I enjoyed that movie to the max, and there's that comedic element I was talking about, and then we're going to get the debut of Spider-Man. Let's not forget Black Panther, okay? All these things, which never mind the fact that we're going to get this absolutely fantastic, enthralling film, all right? And you guys can correct me if you want, but somebody was saying something to the effect that the length of this thing is going to push well to like 2.5 hours easily. And I can guarantee there's not going to be a slow minute in the entire film, so that what it portends for the future of Marvel films, I think, is amazing for their next phase and whatever. Captain America Civil War all the way.
Yeah, and like you said, we're going to make it unanimous. That is absolutely my most anticipated as well. And like Mike, I'm a Marvel guy first, and Spider-Man is, like Mike, is my favorite character. And so just knowing that he was in the film before I even saw him, I was like sold. But I've been a big fan of the Marvel films. I've been a big fan of the Captain America films, and just I don't know, throwing all those characters together in this iconic story. I know it's not going to be a much scaled down version of what the comic was, but it's still exciting. And let's just go ahead and transition into the trailer, where we find the latest trailer, where we finally saw that little clip of Spider-Man at the end when he snatches up Cap's shield and is like, "Hi guys." That was just so perfect for me. Yeah. I mean, as a Spider-Man fan, that was like, oh yes, it was finally.
Look,
yeah.
I am just blown away finally, okay? Because look, and I don't want to put down the other films that came. There were good elements in the other Spider-Man films that were done, all right? But just to date myself here, okay? Because we talked about this at the start of the show, guys. Like, hey, look, I mean, I was 13 years old when Spider-Man came out, and there was a rush to that comic book, being a kid, to like it, because it was really the first time, and a lot of people miss this point altogether, okay? Up until Spider-Man, kids in comics were the sidekicks. Mm-hmm. Toro was the sidekick to the Human Torch. Robin was the sidekick to Batman. When Stan Lee and Steve Ditko brought Peter Parker, into the comic book world, they made a kid the hero. Mm-hmm. And man, if you were this nerdy 13-year-old like I was, you totally identified with this character. So, although I may have other favorite comic book characters, Spider-Man and Peter Parker are really near and dear to me. So that seeing that particular clip that we're all talking about, and knowing the fact that they went out and actually cast a kid in the role, not some 25, 26-year-old guy, who's supposed to be a high school kid. Give me a break, okay? I mean, that little clip, I'm with you, Brent, all right? It excited me to no end. And I went, son of a gun, we finally got the real Spider-Man in a movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Ron, how does that feel for you? Like, since you're around when, Spider-Man with his conception, so it's kind of like, how does that feel for you? Did you have those original comic books when he first came out, and then to the point seeing him now, like how far he's come over the years, like how does that impact you?
Oh, it's an amazing experience, Mike, because the truth of the matter is, I mean, I was literally, on stage when the Silver Age of American comics, debuted. I mean, there was a long time that I literally had all the first 100 issues of Fantastic Four, the Avengers, Spider-Man, Thor, Iron Man. I had all those. And just please, people that don't write me and offer a bid or whatever, they've since over the years been sold for big bucks. Okay, my wife wanted the house remodeled, and there went a few, whatever, through a broker in New York or whatever. And the only way I was able to part with them, and you guys will get a kick out of this too, okay, is that, I mean, I'm a fan. I had these books, and I kept them because I kept them to read them. Mm-hmm. And I would reread them all the time. Well, by the time I actually parted with them, which was like after I'd owned them for almost 30 years, was because they'd all been reprinted. Mm-hmm. You all had these, deluxe Marvels, specials and this and that. And I bought all those. So it wasn't like I still don't have them and I can go to my office and read them anytime I want. But here's the thing. Growing up in the early 60s when Marvel came on the scene, and again, one of the things I tell people when I talk about my experiences as a comic book fan is the fact that not only did Marvel shake up the comic book world in this country by bringing back superheroes out of the golden age of comics, they did it so well that for the first time ever, they gave competition to DC. And DC was forced to get back in the game thanks to their editor at the time, their managing editor at the time was a guy named Julie Schwartz, a really brilliant man. And Julie had been bugging the hell out of his bosses, the publishers, to do more superheroes, to bring back the Justice League and whatever. And his arguments were falling on deaf ears until Marvel started blowing them out of the water. All right, and suddenly DC was giving us a new Flash, a new Hawkman, whatever. And so here you are growing up as this kid in the early 60s and whatever. It's just mind-boggling. Every week there was a great new comic book, dozens of great new comic books on the stand. So you grow up, you become an adult, and you always have that fantasy wish, like, geez, someday it'd be nice to see some of this done as a film or a movie, all right? But then you start getting the B stuff, all right? The stuff made for cable or television, the original Punisher with Dolph Lundgren, those kind of things. The TV Spider-Man, which was god-awful, all right? The Captain America they made for TV, who had the motorcycle helmet on his head and all this good stuff. And you suffered through that with that thought that, okay, this is the best we're going to get until Marvel forms its own studios, and a decade ago we started getting things like the first X-Men movie and stuff like that, and suddenly we're getting the honest to God real comic book heroes appearing on that giant cinema screen. You know what, Mike? I tell people this all the time, and I mean it with every breath of my soul. I've been fortunate enough to live a very happy and blessed life, and a lot of that is my involvement with American comics, both as a kid, as a fan, as a writer, creator, and now again as a fan again, loving all these Marvel movies. There you go.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. I mean, when it comes to the Civil War movie, I can honestly say though too that we've looked at these Marvel movies, and I can honestly say it's the chemistry with the actors. Mm-hmm. They've been around each other, so often at this point that they play off of each other. They know each other so well, and I think that gives them the edge up as well compared to all these other movies where DC is saying, well, we're going to put out these movies, but, we're not sure how everyone's going to act on screen with each other. It's still yet to be determined if the fans are going to like that.
Yeah. Well, without getting into, because I haven't seen the film itself, but, Mike, I want to bring this up, as a point of discussion between all of us, all right? Prior to the big trailers releases of Batman versus Superman, we were getting Civil War trailers.
Yeah.
And we were seeing Captain America and Winter Soldier going at Iron Man. Mm-hmm. And it's a brutal fight. I mean, you could see it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pounding the hell out of each other, right? Yet, even amidst that kind of grit and each defending his own philosophies and views to the point of fist and fighting and pounding the hell out of each other, it doesn't come across as dark as the first trailer when you see Batman and Superman going at it.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
These guys want to.
And to kind of add to Ron's point, when I saw Star Wars: The Force Awakens, they actually showed both trailers on a big screen. Mm-hmm. As I'm looking at the Civil War trailer, which I've seen thousands of times, I'm looking at this and thinking, oh my God, this looks much better than it does on YouTube. It's sharp, the images are big, it's bright, it's filmed well. And then when that went off, and then immediately came on the Batman v Superman trailer, and I'm thinking, did they use like a dub of a copy on VHS? Because this looks crappy. And I'm not talking about the plot. I'm talking about the actual visuals looked muddy and dull and boring. And it's like, why the bleep would I want to pay money to see that when I can see, if I'm gonna spend 2.5 hours, and spend money on a 2.5-hour movie, do I want to spend it on a movie that looks dark and muddy and maybe a little bit incoherent, or do I want to spend on something where I can actually see people in movement doing superhero stuff? So I think it's the whole, I think with Batman v Superman, I know it's on our agenda, I think Civil War is going to outperform it because at least Civil War seems to be about something other than let's set up a superhero universe because our competition has already done so. I think they're better made movies. They're movies that have a stronger craft to them. Sometimes they're not straightforward superhero movies. Ant-Man is a heist movie. It just happens to have a superhero in it.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was about to say, Guardians of the Galaxy is Star Wars-style space opera. It just happens to take place in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, absolutely. I look at it, and plus when I look at it, and I haven't seen Batman vs. Superman yet. I will see it sometime down the road, but when I look at Civil War and I see the compassion between that fight scene, like between Iron Man and Cap, it's just like you can see that it's so emotional. Where you get Superman and Batman fighting, it's just like there's no emotion behind it. It's like, why are you fighting? Because Batman says he's an alien, and then they're just like competing against each other. There's no emotion. There's no drive.
Don't you get feelings that they're like two thugs beating each other up?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas, like I said, when you watch the trailer for Civil War, you've already known. It's like you so well said. They developed these characters, so you have this empathy for Tony Stark, and you have it for Steve Rogers. And there's this emotional connection that says, oh, my God, my two heroes are fighting each other. That's so wrong. But, again, look at Batman and Superman in the trailer, and they're mindless thugs pounding the hell out of each other, and you could care less, okay? That's just so stupid.
Yeah, think of it this way. There's actually more of an emotional connection for me in the conflict between Captain Cold and Heat Wave on Legends of Tomorrow than I do in Batman v Superman. I actually care about those characters. I want to watch Prison Break because of those characters.
Yeah. That's true.
Well said.
I'll tell you one thing. My wife is not a huge comic book fan, and she supports my hobby because I love it and it makes me happy. So, and she'll go and she'll see some superhero movies with me. She has watched every Captain America movie with me, and all the Marvel movies with me. And for the first time, I actually saw emotion from her when it came to the Civil War trailer, because she actually sit there and she goes, I don't know if I can see this movie. She's like, Iron Man and Captain America are going to fight. And she goes, I can't stand to see that.
Yeah, somebody needs to turn off their speakers.
Yeah, it's on Chris's end.
Oh, it's mine now? All right, hold on.
All right.
We better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, she got emotional of it because she can't stand to see those two fight, because she feels that in those movies that obviously, you know, Robert Downey Jr. and I forgot his name, Captain America, Chris Evans, you know, they make their movies, and to have them battle each other is, again, it's really emotional. So for her, I kind of just raised an eyebrow there for a second. I was like, really? Wait, you're getting emotional now about it? I find it so funny.
That's all, and yeah, it does. It evokes that kind of emotion because of our history with them, and it's also they're such fine actors. They're very animated, each one of them, and they've casted these films excellently. I think.
Brilliantly.
Yeah.
I mean, look. I mean, you work it down this way from day one, and I think the casting of Robert Downey Jr. was what launched everything, because everybody immediately went, oh yeah, he's Tony Stark. Exactly. I can remember when they were casting Chris Evans for First Avenger, and there was a lot of doubt because, you know, he'd already played Johnny Storm, and that cocky individual. But God bless director Joe Johnston, because he and Evans talked a great deal during the filming of First Avenger as to who Cap was. And then when you watch the movie and it plays out, there's that whole little bit about the fact that, the professor who gives him the magic formula just basically tells him, just be a good man. You suddenly begin to realize that the take is he's only going to beat Captain America if you believe him as Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
That's what they did, and that's what Evans captured it so well that even now I'm such a huge fan, again, of him in that role. It's impossible for me to imagine anybody else but Chris Evans being Captain America.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and that's across the board. You can't imagine anybody else being Tony Stark.
The Scarlet Witch or Hawkeye or Paul Rudd, all right, has a career as a comedian.
Yeah,
and they make that perfect casting as Scott Lang. Okay, just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and I remember when we were hearing about this movie, and I was like, oh my, it's gonna be awful. They're turning it into something that shouldn't be. And then I saw it, and I was like, wow, that was actually really good. And it was really good casting. So. It's.
Hey, look, I have high hopes for the future of all the Marvel universe.
Oh, of course.
And unlike Mike, I think only because of casting. Okay, Benedict Cumberbatch I think was the perfect choice to play Doctor Strange because he's a great actor. I think he's going to nail the role. Now, whether fantasy and magic is your thing or not, I think once again we're going to have a comic book character come off the pages onto the big screen the way we hope he does, all right? And man, I mean, the vibes that I'm hearing for Black Panther, people are saying this thing is going to rock the Marvel Universe. It's going to be a phenomenal film.
Yeah.
And that's what I like that's what I can appreciate about them trying to do these films, because a lot of everyday people don't know who Black Panther or Doctor Strange is, and same with Ant-Man in the same way. And when they put these characters on the screen, it automatically makes the moviegoer a fan of these characters, and then makes them want to pick up the comic books for them.
Amen, Mike. You got it exactly.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I completely agree. So, we talked a little bit about Batman v Superman, and again, we're not going to go into the movie, but. Gordon already touched on it. You guys, does everybody think that Civil War is going to outperform it? Just to put it out there, it got $424.1 million on opening weekend.
Right.
I think it will.
You think it will?
I think it could.
That's opening weekend. The big test for Batman versus Superman is what kind of legs it has.
Yeah.
And I'm predicting it doesn't have any at all. I think Civil War is going to blow it out of the water.
Fair enough.
Exactly what Ron said. I feel like when Superman vs. Batman came out, it was slapped with controversy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to argue websites like Rotten Tomato or something because, critics are critics. But the fans themselves, there are more people that are complaining about this movie than are actually saying, oh my God, this is. I mean, I have friends that think it's an amazing movie. I have friends that think it's an okay movie. I have friends that say, well, if you forget everything you know about comic books, which is how I went and watched this movie, then yeah, you'll like the movie. And then there are people that are split right down the middle. They say, as a comic fan, I hate this movie. But as a movie fan, I think this movie was done pretty well. Personally, though, I think that, they tried really hard, DC, to get a movie out with more than just one of their characters. They tried to pull in Avengers early. And Marvel did it. Marvel is more true to their source material than Zack Snyder. I won't say DC. I'll say Zack Snyder because he's the director of the films so far. So I think that because Marvel's more true to their source material, they have a more humanistic universe where it's not so strict or so dark and gritty. I think their movie is more welcoming, not only to adults, but because I wouldn't let my son watch Batman v Superman, not for a while, not until he gets older. But I would take him to go see Captain America after I watch it, of course, to make sure everything's okay. But I'd let him see a Marvel movie before I let him see a DC movie, because at least the Marvel movies have the humor, have the lighter tones to them, and that's what comic book movies, I feel, that's what they should be. So I think that Captain America is going to blow Batman v Superman out because of the way Batman v Superman was welcomed, which it really wasn't, and just pure they're going to be truer to their characters.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I was paying, real attention to last week, just prior to the release of Batman versus Superman, was we were getting all the, professional critics, and they were overwhelmingly negative.
Yeah.
So obviously you got the fanboys, ire up and, go see it, make up your own mind. And they're critics, and what do they know, and whatever. Okay, and I'm saying to myself, okay, well, there's logic to that, and let's see what happens after the movie's in public release. Sure enough, the movie goes out. Within 2 days of it being in public release, I'm reading reviews by my colleagues and fellow comic book fans, not the professional critics, and they're overwhelmingly negative. Okay, so here's the point: word of mouth is what's going to sink Batman versus Superman. Word of mouth by the fan, because the few diehards who either liked it or give it a chance are being drowned out by the guys who went and said, "Well, there's 2 hours of my life wasted."
Yeah. I'm going to make a very controversial statement and disagree with everyone. And I think Civil War is going to do, initially, its opening weekend, probably a little less than Batman v Superman. But I think it's going to have staying power and perform well over the long run. I think the reason why Batman v Superman got 424 in its first weekend, it's like any kind of train wreck. Sometimes you have to see for yourself how it's done.
Exactly.
Human nature. You got it, Gordon.
I think it's actually more than that, Gordon, and you can finish your thought, but I think it's also because it's Batman and Superman on screen together for the first time.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's got a unique selling point, but I think once we know, okay, we know it's, now that people have established, it's pretty much a train wreck. I think overall performance over the next 2 or 3 weeks is going to plummet. Whereas
of course,
I could see it performing, opening at like say 350 million, and then stay at 200, 300, the 200 to 300 million range over the course of the next few weeks. Marvel's got a lot more money, time, and effort invested in it, and it's not kicking off a universe; it's building on a universe.
Yeah.
So I can see. I don't think Civil War is going to outperform Batman v Superman in terms of initial opening, but I think it's like Rocky. It's not going for the knockout. It's going for making the distance, and I think Civil War is going to make the distance.
All right, Gordon, I have a question for you. How long do you think Batman v Superman compared to Civil War will be in the theaters? I'm just curious what your thoughts are, and I want to see if we're on the same page with that.
I think being optimistic, maybe 2 to 3 weeks.
Ooh, man,
that's close to what I was thinking, but not that soon. No, I was thinking it'll go out of theaters a bit sooner than we thought, but not that soon. But
I think Gordon's right. I think, again, word of mouth, only because what it's doing, guys, the negative word of mouth by fans, all right, is basically having the effect. I mean, because look at us. None of us have seen it, okay? And listening to all this negative word of mouth, my initial thought is, well, there's no way I'm going to pay to go see this at the theater because I'm hearing all this bad vibes. So it'll be on cable in 6 months. I'll watch it on cable.
Exactly.
That's going to be the difference here. Civil War is going to come out, and if Gordon's right and it doesn't have that big, hook to make that big splash over its opening weekend, who cares? The fans are going to go see it, guys, and they're going to love it. All right, unless we're totally, in orbit around Mars. Everything we've seen with the trailers tell us this is going to be a winner. So after the first weekend, word of mouth is going to be positive.
Yeah.
And that's when it's going to get its legs. And it's going to be in the theaters a month and a half, 2 months. I mean, fans won't be in any rush for this to come out on DVD or cable because they're going to want to go see it in the theaters.
Yeah. I would argue that the attraction, I mean, obviously Civil War trailers have been fantastic and everybody has history with these films, but I think the attraction that's going to bring them is Spider-Man coming into that universe. And that's going to spike things up a bit. I still think I agree with Gordon that I think opening weekend Batman v Superman beats Civil War, but I agree with you guys that in the long run Civil War is gonna take it. simply for those reasons. I don't know if 2 or 3 weeks. I think it's going to be a little bit longer than that, but I could definitely see it being out well before Civil War comes out.
Well, the DVD, from what I heard from Batman v Superman, is set for July. So I would say it's going to at least ride out until
It's set for
sometime in
July?
April. Yeah.
That's like
Wow.
no time.
Yeah. Okay. Then
So-
yeah.
And
That's
guys,
why I'm
just-
thinking Gordon's very much on key with how
Yeah,
he
I
thinks
do.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah, and just to put in perspective, and this is coming totally out of left field. When the movie of Gem and the Holograms was released, normally
God.
studios normally allow for 10 days to determine overall performance. The fact that Universal pulled it after 10 days, I think, said that they didn't have faith in that. So I'm looking at it as DC's going to look at it in 10 days. Yeah, we're doing okay, but I think coming into that second and third weekend, it's going to drop because people have either said, yeah, I'm going to go see this. They've made up their minds, like Ron and I, that we're not going to bother paying our money, or they're going to maybe use illegal downloading to see it.
Yes, that's very
Yeah,
true. That's
right.
very true, to save money. My
Well,
friend
let me-
Mike T's already seen it 3 times, so he's gotten obsessed with Batman v Superman. But another thing that I think that's going to play in Civil War's favor is Batman v Superman is going off of the negative. It already was negative before anybody saw it because everybody had the bitter taste of Man of Steel in their mouth. Now with Marvel, how many bad movies can you list that Marvel's put out after listing, of course, the Hulk and a few other movies that we don't think about anymore? But Marvel hasn't, struck out really yet, not counting Iron Man 3 or stuff like that,
The only underperforming movies for Marvel have been the Thor movies, and quite honestly, those movies are not bad.
Right.
They're just Thor is not really a named character like Captain America is.
Yeah.
So playing off of this topic a little bit, what does this set up for the future for DC? So say DC says, okay, guess what, guys? We made a crap ton of load of money for this movie, but everyone said it sucked. What do we do now going forward? How do they change things?
Well-
I mean, because, you can make all this money in the world, like you said, but if the movie is not good, then they're not going to have faith in you're seeing the movies in the future movies that you already have planned.
Well, Mike, if the comics are any indication, they'll wait 5 years and then they'll start changing their strategy.
No.
They'll do Infinite Crisis, and that'll be the end of that.
Here's how I see this playing out. I think right now the next movies on the slate are Suicide Squad and Justice League.
Mhm.
I think Suicide Squad they're going to look at and see how that performs. And I think that will perform very well.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there are going to be a lot of cautious eyes on Justice League. What they may choose to do is say, okay, well, you know what, Zach, rather than you direct, your executive producer, and they'll bring somebody else in.
Yeah.
I think we'll also see maybe some reduced budgets for other characters, because you can make the claim that, okay, Aquaman has some visibility, but the Flash, you're going to have to compete against the TV show.
Mhm.
Cyborg, I can't see you spending a lot of money for a character that doesn't really have a lot of his visibility has only increased in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, I think, will do well because, hey, Wonder Woman. I mean, that will be a natural. And
Let's get into that thing, Gordon. Let me cut you off for just a second. The one seem straight line positive note coming out of Batman Superman is Wonder Woman. One reviewer said, "Do yourself a favor, buy a ticket, stand in the hall outside the movie theater, and wait an hour and 49 minutes, then walk in."
Yeah,
That's when she appears, and that's the only decent good. That's the universal good point of this movie is Wonder Woman's little action sequences, and again, the same reviewer, she's the only person who actually smiles in the film. This has drummed up so much. Excitement for her film, which is now in production. And I don't know. Have you seen the teasers for this thing? The Wonder Woman, never mind. I mean, I'm anxious to see Suicide Squad because I think it deserves to be dark and gritty, and it's that kind of a film. But the point with Wonder Woman is, I'm getting the vibes that Wonder Woman is going to be a Marvel-like movie.
It is.
All right, not
So, Ron,
Cypher. It's
so Ron,
somebody
let
else.
let me just ask: are you suggesting that maybe Batman v Superman is a 2.5-hour trailer for the Wonder Woman movie?
It sure sounds that
I
way.
will say, Gordon, I will say there is something interlaced in the movie that does kind of give you an idea of where Wonder Woman's movie is going to be.
It's a period piece. It takes place during World War II, and they fight Nazis. How can you go wrong?
I will say this.
Given Zack Snyder run, you should not be saying that. He will
Not
find
Snyder.
a way.
Snyder has got nothing to do with the Wonder
No,
Woman.
Snyder's not doing. Yeah, he's not on Wonder Woman.
Well,
The
it's got
whole
nothing
thing-
to do
He'll
with
find a
Wonder
way to be on Wonder Woman.
You say that, but Zack Snyder is kind of the architect of this entire universe, in the way that it's
Yeah.
as an architect.
So
I
I know, but
My whole problem.
oh, go ahead, Mike.
My whole problem with Batman, Superman from the start was just the whole. We have a dark and gritty Batman, which we've always known, going against a dark and gritty Superman, which I can't stand. And right from the get-go, your tone of the movie was poor to begin with. And I think that's what turns a lot of people off from it too.
Yeah.
Of course it does. It's not Superman.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, but it's not Superman. All
That's
right?
how I went in watching the movie. It's not Superman. It's not Batman. It's Zack Snyder's depiction of Superman and Batman, and that's why I think I survived the movie.
I looked at it as like an alternate universe. So
Yeah, I actually went in thinking that, and it worked out very, very well for me. But I have to agree with Gordon. I think when DC sees that every movie that doesn't have Zack Snyder's name as the director, I think that's when they're going to be like, Zack, I think you need to sit down. I think you need to go away for a while.
Yeah.
I have to agree.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and you know, we'll touch on this because it's one comment made in a statement about what Zack Snyder kind of compared Man of Steel to The Force Awakens. just
the dumbest comment I've ever read
I know,
in my life.
just to give his viewpoint on all these things, he basically said, it was actually Kylo Ren in Force Awakens, not Darth Vader, but he basically said, the villains in Star Wars, they killed a bunch of people, so why can't Superman?
God, because Superman doesn't kill.
What?
Right.
This is the dark side. Come on, man. These are the oh my God. It was so I just hit the roof when I heard that statement.
Yeah.
I'm like, how can you compare? That's like comparing apples and oranges. It's completely two different things. I'm like, it's ridiculous.
I think Zack Snyder is hanging out with Stoner Flash. It's like,
Oh.
Zack, dude.
Yeah. The thing is, I think Zack Snyder believes that the problem people had with the film was death, and it's not death that people had a problem with. It was the
news site. Before you go too far, I just want to mention the news site that reported this retracted the statement that Zack Snyder called Superman basically exactly like Darth Vader. They actually recanted a little bit and said that he compared the destruction that was done in Star Wars to the destruction that happened in Man of Steel, which essentially is, I'm sorry, Superman letting people die.
Yeah, but again, he's assuming that the problem people had with the film was the deaths in the film, and that's not the people. Yeah, go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brand. I mean, let's if Zack Snyder is listening, and I don't think he is, but if you're listening, Zack, you kicked off all the action in Man of Steel with Superman against the Kryptonians. You didn't start with, these Kryptonians are taking over this planet. These people are going to be harmed. I need to stop them. It wasn't, they have a philosophy against mine. I tried to work it out with them. I need to stop them. It was basically, you touched my mom. That's it, Zach. And it's a 2.5 hour. Essentially, Superman has a temper tantrum because the Kryptonians were messing with his mom, and I can deal with the idea of Superman taken to an extreme and having to kill. I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. But it's the surrounding context where Superman's not being heroic. It's just, I'm going to punch people and stuff's going to get destroyed. It's like, no, Zach. There's a fundamental humanity to Superman that his films lack.
Yeah. No,
Right.
I think we all
Right.
agree with that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's funny
Hey guys,
you mentioned,
I'm gonna take a break for a second. I'm gonna go grab my notes on the shout outs,
Okay.
which are coming up next.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be right back.
I was just gonna say, in a mirroring statement for Batman v Superman, you touched my mom from Man of Steel. It switches to you touched my Lois and mom.
Okay.
That's all
Yeah, I
I'm
mean
gonna
that's all
say.
Man of Steel was, though. When you look at it, Man of Steel, that's all it was. That was the introduction to his Superman, where it was like when I first saw the movie, right? I just went into it with open eyes and just looked at it. I'm like, oh, it's got cool action, it's got cool effects. And then when I watched it the second time, I'm like, well, where is any point Superman in this movie? Where is he the hero here?
Mhm.
All he does is he rescues the damsel in distress, which is Lois Lane.
Yeah.
And yes, and his mother there. But I mean, the whole that was the movie. He was never Superman. As new people in this world that were ever watching or never watched Superman or ever heard of Superman, because we always get new generations. This is their version of Superman. This is the way they look at Superman, and Superman is not that way at all.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it's the problem everybody had with the New 52 version of Superman as well, because he just,
Yeah.
for a long time until they finally started softening him up, he was that same kind of character, cocky and brash, and just not the Superman everybody knew. So, but
Right.
we spent enough time on that. Real quick, let's talk about what DC is doing right, which is TV shows. In my opinion, anyway.
Yes, they.
Oh, I
yes,
agree.
they are.
I
They
agree.
totally
Yeah,
are.
and I know one that I don't know, Mike, if you're watching Legends of Tomorrow, but I know Chris is actually watching that, which is amazing.
I love it so
It's a
much.
fun. It's a fun show. It's a fun show. And hey, while we're talking about this, right? What's tonight? Supergirl and the Flash.
Oh yeah, I'm
Oh.
way behind on
Oh,
Supergirl,
yes.
but I can't wait for that crossover.
Yep.
Yeah, Flash is like my favorite comic TV show.
Easy.
Yeah,
Easily.
exactly.
Yeah. And Legends of Tomorrow surprised the hell out of me, guys. I cannot believe how much fun that show is becoming.
It is a lot of fun. Are you watching it, Mike?
I am, but I'm like probably about 2 or 3 episodes behind on it.
Okay.
I've fallen so far behind on the TV these seasons on shows in general. There's become a point where there's so many of them. It's like I don't have time to watch them,
Yeah.
And they're all on my DVR. I'm behind on Arrow. I'm behind on Flash. I'm behind on the only thing I think I'm current on is
Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead, and and the most current one is Legends of Tomorrow. And I agree. I think that show is really well done, especially when they do like their action sequences, and just the story in general is really cool. And it's cool to see all those characters in there. My favorite character personally is Sarah. I think to me she makes the show in there. That's my personal opinion there.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it too because one, Legends of Tomorrow is Doctor Who with DC characters. Let's just put it out there. I mean, Arthur Darvill should just call himself Dr. Rip Hunter rather than just plain Rip Hunter.
They do throw in a few Easter eggs there, here and there with that.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite Easter egg was during the Mike. I don't know if you've seen the Russia episodes, but at one point, Len Snart, someone is asking, Captain Cold about he and Heatwave being ready for a prison-ice, and he says, "This isn't our first prison."
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that episode.
I love that.
I mean, I want those guys to have their own show where all they do is just steal stuff. They like go around the country and just like rob stuff and get away with it.
They should do a Rogues spin-off, because they are Flash Rogues. We'll just do a Rogues series. I would love that.
I would like.
Yeah.
I would like that.
It's funny.
You got to get the other rogues, though.
Yeah.
You have to get the other
Oh,
rogues.
of course.
And we have to find out what happened to Snark also.
Yeah. But it's funny because when Lisa and I, when we're trying to find something to watch on TV, it's like we're scrolling through the Hulu, and every time we're like, is there a new Legends? Is there a new Flash? And Lisa actually just said to me the other day, I wish everything was Flash. It's just, that's a testament right there of how good these shows are. So
Yeah. Well, I'm psyched for the Western episode of Legends coming up in a couple weeks with Jonah Hex.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
that's gonna be amazing. Yeah. Yeah, what's his name? Brandon Root, Ray Palmer.
Yeah.
I saw a clip, right? And he's facing off against these bad guys. And the guy says, "What's your name?"
John
and he
Wayne.
goes, Sheriff
Yeah.
John Wayne.
Yeah. And another one, he uses the Terminator line. Yeah, there's such a good mix of it's like the Marvel movies. The DC TV shows have got that formula right too. There's just the right mix of action, drama, and comedy.
And comedy.
Yeah.
Yep. It works.
Yeah.
It really does.
Absolutely.
How's Arrow been as of late? Because I've fallen way behind on that. Has it gotten better from last season, or how's it been?
Honestly, for me, Arrow is a little bit slow right now. They're doing this whole trial of Damien Dark now kind of thing, and things are. I don't want to spoil too much for you, but things are rocky between Felicity and Ollie, and it's a lot more drama and a lot less of all the other stuff. I think.
Well, they pulled a real twisty little hook thing when they came back from their winter break. Remember?
Yeah.
When they started the episode with Ollie at the cemetery.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And that's been hanging on the second half of the season.
That's true.
Supposedly, one of the regulars is going to die.
Yeah, we just don't know which
by
one.
the end of the
Ooh.
season. Yeah. So You know, my wife and I have been like, is it Diggle? Is it Felicity? Is it his sister? It just colors. One of their fun episodes was they brought Vixen.
Yeah, that was a fun
into
one.
the show.
Yeah.
That was a ride. I'd like to see a little bit more of that happen in the course of the series as they go along. Because Diggle and I'm trying to think, somebody else. I don't know if it was Diggle. Oh, it was Black Canary. Ended up on the Flash one episode.
Yeah.
When they were fighting Human Shark.
Yeah. Yeah, they popped in for a cameo.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so the crossovers are fun, and I wish they'd do a little bit more of them on Arrow. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think its pacing right now is kind of slow, but I think it's all set up, guys, for that finale where, like I said, the big dramatic twist is one of the regulars is going to bite the bullet.
Yeah, I think right now it's in that period where 2 or 3 episodes it's slowed down so you can build back up. So that's why this most recent episode was kind of a one-off. It had Cupid coming back, and then all this other stuff around it was just the drama aspects of it. So that's why it was a little bit weaker for me. But Flash, I'm loving. I'm loving the mystery of Zoom and all that, and what we know that they're just finding out and all that stuff. So.
Yep. And Professor Wells' doctor got injected by the serum.
Yeah.
Last.
Yeah.
Who was about to eventually become Jesse Quick.
Yes. Can't wait for that.
Yep.
That's cool.
Very cool.
I'm way behind on the Flash. Flash was never like a good day for me to watch. It's always on Tuesday.
Yeah.
That's when we do like Frontline, live. So it's like it was never a good day for me to watch. I'm just like pretty much the full season behind on that one. Legends of Tomorrow. I'm actually the last episode I watched of that was when they went into the future, when Ollie was old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that one. That was the last episode I watched on that one.
Old with only one arm. With only one arm, right?
With one arm. Yeah, it's funny. And then when it comes to Supergirl, I think I've watched one episode since the mid-season finale. I watched right when it came on. I watched that episode, and I haven't watched one since. It's just haven't had time.
Yeah, that one I've only watched one episode period because the Hulu doesn't get CBS shows, and we do have the CBS app, but it's like riddled with so many commercials, and we couldn't. There was too much going on to record it when it was airing, so we got to go back and watch it post. But I'm gonna watch the crossover episode regardless.
I guarantee the ratings for tonight's episode are going to go through the roof.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's where. Sorry, Brian.
No. I was going to say, if you guys haven't heard this too, the showrunners have also said that there will be a major debut of another DC hero in the last episode of Supergirl.
Oh, nice.
Yep. They're teasing with that.
What were you going to say, Mike?
I was just going to say that's where, we were talking about earlier, like where DC is doing it right, where, they are capitalizing on their shows and crossing over between each other, and it makes it feel like a cohesive universe.
Yeah. Amen.
And that's what you want. I mean, that's successful, and that's what you need in your movies.
Exactly.
And I don't, they just need to produce that on the big screen as well, and in their comic books once again.
Right. I completely agree. All right, let's skip over the Netflix stuff for now. I think only Chris. Well, I don't know if Gordon, if you've watched Daredevil or not, but I know Chris has only watched part of it. I've still got one episode to go. I know Ron hasn't. I know you haven't yet, Mike.
Yeah, I watched the first episode and first episode and a half. Yeah.
Put it on DVD, Netflix. What are you waiting for?
I can tell you, I've watched 11 or 12 episodes of Daredevil season 2, and I love it. There's so much going on there with Punisher and Elektra. It's so good.
Is it better than the first season?
There are parts of it that are better and parts of it that are not quite as good. There's somewhere in the middle it kind of slows down, but when you're on those arcs with Punisher, I think it's the strongest. The beginning of the Elektra arc was a little bit slower and a little bit, let's get on with it kind of. But as it's wrapping up, it's getting a lot more interesting because you introduce the Hand, and they're all over the place now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so cool. There's a lot going on now. So, Gordon, have you watched it at all?
Nice.
Not yet, but I don't mind spoilers, so go right ahead.
That's really all I'm going to say. I know Chris has only watched 4 episodes as well, so we'll table that until everybody's had a chance, or most of us have had a chance. And we'll go right on into Facebook shoutouts.
Shout it, shout it, shout it out loud. Shout it, shout it, shout it out loud.
No! I've been waiting 5 months to do that.
And I could have waited 5 months more. So.
We are back with shout-outs. Oh, yes. My God. Yeah. Hey, and before I rattle off these 3, let's give a real thanks to all our loyal Zone 4 Legionnaires who've been waiting this long for this episode. And I know, Brant, you've seen on the Facebook page for Zone 4 over the last few weeks, we've actually had several folks post and say, they missed the show, they wanted to come back.
Which is awesome.
And we really, we really appreciate that. Thanks a lot. We're back. Here we go. And if you want a shout out, Brant will clue you in on how you get a shout out. We had a bunch of them that we've collected over the past few months. As normal we do on regular shows, I'm going to read out 3 of them. Please forgive me as I brutalize your names ahead of time, but try and make this as much fun. And the heart of it is to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening to the show. So first shout out that we're back is to John Statopoulos. Now, isn't that a Canadian name?
Or Greek? I don't know.
It's he lives in Toronto, Ontario, guys. Yeah. And there's pictures of him on Facebook, and he's got this John, regardless of whatever else you do in life, that stash you have is awesome. He has, I think, the best Greek mustache I've seen in my life. All right, nice. I mean, neat, trim. It's a full manly man's mustache. I also know, thanks to his Facebook avatar, he's a from the 3. So,
not my dogs this time.
Translated into dog for your protection.
Yeah. There you go. And she must have heard me yelling. That's what it was. Anyways, he's also married to the very lovely Donna Soft, and he's a fan. Yahoo! He's a fan of the Blue Jays.
What the heck is going on?
Can I ask you a question? Are you piping those sound effects in, or is that Chris?
That's not me. I'm not doing anything.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That was me. I was taking the dog in from the walk. It was my sliding glass door.
Oh man.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure, because it's one thing for me to interrupt Ron, because that's just rude, but sound effects kind of take it to a whole different
Oh
level.
man, Mike, your microphone is really good.
We need to apologize to John. John, sorry
Yeah,
about
I apologize. That is my fault, John.
that. Hey, thanks for listening. And hey, good luck with the Blue Jays this season. And the other thing I wanted to mention, which I thought was really cute, he's got some nice photos of his wife Donna on his Facebook page, and they have these two pet parrots. Huh. They're green, yellow in color. And it's like we ever do a pirate episode, maybe we'll have John join us with his parrots.
Arr.
So there you go. Yeah, okay. And now, that's our second shout out. And you guys are gonna have to forgive me because I swear to God, I'm not speaking in tongues here. Okay. He's a cartoonist. I'm gonna guess some South American Portuguese country. His name is Lucas Brozillo. And he's the administrator of Gia Comics, or Guia Comics, Guia. He went to, and hang on for this one, he went to EEEM Dr. Luis Bastasso de Prada.
Okay.
Obviously some kind of school or whatever in the village of Capivara de Baxo. And he lives in Gravata. So there you go. From another country, listening to Zone 4, Lucas, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
Awesome.
And have internet wherever he is? Cool.
Hey, let me mention this. Like I said, he's a cartoonist. If you guys check out, again, Brizola, Lucas Brazo on Facebook, he does a manga-style cartooning. It's
nice.
really, really sharp. Very talented young man. So thanks for being a Zone 4 listener, Lucas. Really appreciate it. And our final shout-out, I went to the bottom of the list because I know this young lady personally, Brant.
Mm-hmm.
She's a really, really smart, sharp, talented young lady. Her name is Lisa Matthew Collins. And for her Facebook page, Lisa says she loves anything Southern and science fiction. And if you described her in 3 words, it would be bookish, curious, and observant. Married to Christopher M. Collins, and she's an award-winning writer from Arkansas. She's also an associate editor of MetaHuman Press, and was one of the 62 writers who contributed to our phenomenal anthology, Legends of New Pulp Fiction. She wrote a story called Dangerous Client for that benefit book. Absolutely awesome lady. Lisa, thanks for being a fan of Zone 4. We couldn't be happier to have you listen to our show. And those are our shout-outs for our first episode back. Grant, how can our Legionnaires get a shout-out?
If you'd like to get a shout out on the show, all you have to do is go to our Facebook page, hit the like button, and eventually we will shout you out. Sometimes we will make fun of you, but it's all in love and good spirit. So, thank you.
And going back to that pirate idea, hey, Bram, for the 8-year anniversary, we could totally...
We all have to talk in pirate speak the entire episode.
Of course.
We'll hire Zack Snyder. He'll do an amazing job. We'll be...
All right, so with that, it's topic time.
Topic time. It's topic time.
Oh, we missed
Sound
that.
effect
Yeah.
this episode.
All right, so for topic time, and we'll actually keep this tight because we're going a little bit long, is DC Rebirth, which is the big hot topic going on right now. And obviously, as this episode goes live, it's almost been a week since the announcements have come out. So sorry if this is a rehash of anything, but we've got to give our opinions because it's Zone 4, and we have to talk about this. So even though probably half of us are not even reading DC at this point, but that's okay. We can still talk about it. So first, I want to open this up because Ron, I don't think you saw the actual video of the announcements, right? Okay. I do want to open this up with one thing. And we've given Dan DiDio a lot of crap over the years. You know, we even did a skit where he was the villain of taking us hostage and stuff. I mean,
oh yes, we did.
We've given that man a lot of crap. So I do have to say one thing that I do respect that he said. He came out there and, you know, you can say what you want to say. Maybe there's more to it, but, you know, I kind of respect the fact that he came out there and said, you know what, we kind of lost our way. We kind of went too far with some things. So now we're taking a look back at everything and kind of refocusing. And, you know, I thought that was a commendable thing to say, to actually admit your failures publicly and, you know, kind of say, okay, we made some mistakes, so we're going to try to fix some stuff. That's how they opened up this whole thing, and that's what I wanted to open up this conversation with. Regardless of what you think about DC or Rebirth or whatever, I still think that was a positive thing. So.
Well, I think it would have been positive if you just said, you know, we made some mistakes, so here's my sword, and fallen on it, you know? Let's move on.
I really do think he did, because he said he noticed that they had alienated all of their fans, that they were, I forgot the word he was looking for, but he basically said, yeah, we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
This is my buddy Jeff, and this is my buddy Jim, and I'm going to get some help, and we're going to bring you back to DC Comics.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, to maybe put a more serious spin on what my colleagues have said, although it's good that he's taking some of the responsibility, to me it seems a little half-hearted when, think of it this way, if Jeff Johns were just bringing on to engage in Rebirth because Dan Didio tried all this with past people, I'd probably be a little bit more optimistic. But every single change has been with Didio and Jeff Johns at the helm, and I'm kind of wondering, and I know that DC Comics have not sold, and, you know, they've had some pretty recent poor sales records. So my question is, why are you all of a sudden contrary now and saying, yeah, we went too far, blah, 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 versus saying, you know what, yeah, we went too far, but maybe we need to rethink how we're doing business, or maybe we need to put some stronger leadership in that administrative role. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree, but it's actually funny because Jay actually shared with us a day or two ago that Dan Didio actually released a statement later on stating that at New York Comic Con this year, after they had their panel and they got to the question section, basically a good portion of the auditorium stood up and left. And for him, it was the first time, I guess, experiencing this. So this is what he said. It was at that point where he realized there was something wrong. At that point.
Yeah, and that's I think the main issue, because we could go over, and I know, Brent, you want to keep it tight. If we went over news around DC for the past, say, year and a half, what we would see is a company that is straining to either reach its traditional fans or revamp everything to attract new fans. The reason why Marvel is doing so well is that they've never forgotten that their focus is on comics. The two comics that I have enjoyed in the past year have been Squadron Supreme and Squadron Sinister from Marvel. And those are the best DC comics that DC isn't publishing. And I didn't just say, oh, I realized something was wrong. No, he knew about comments from before. He just chose to ignore them. And I think to all of a sudden say, yeah, we did something wrong, we're going to go back to basics, fine, but have someone else either, and it's not so much anti-Johns as you need creative new people in John's place.
Yeah,
in Didio's place.
Yeah.
Who have a vision rather than what I see them doing is, let's chase after sales.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's the same thing with Marvel, where Kusada kind of went way too far, and so they shifted his responsibilities and brought in somebody else to actually be editor-in-chief. And it's the same kind of thing. I agree with you that they do need new blood in there to kind of bring a new direction or perspective. And I get what you guys are saying, and I agree with you that maybe it's not completely sincere, but at the same time, and yes, he ignored it for years. He ignored all the backlash because he thought, oh, hey, comic fans, whatever. And but I still think it says something that even he at this point is like, okay, I've actually got to take note of this. So I totally agree with what you guys are saying, but I still see it as a positive because at least we're getting.
You're gonna say what I was.
Well, I'm just saying, at least we're getting change.
Yeah.
So.
I agree. And another thing that really alienated DC, and this is a real quick thing, they basically had to screen any news site that wanted to do an interview or any public, any kind of news article. They had to basically pre-screen it, and that was another hassle. And that's another reason why news sites kind of bowed out of DC, because they had that extra we want to make sure you're not posting, And it led to a lot of sites that didn't deserve to be blacklisted getting blacklisted, and other sites actually using that as a springboard. No sites, mentioned here, but use it as a springboard to start how many days since DC's made a
we won't talk about all that. But no,
we are not. No, I'm just saying it was the news aspect. They really alienated the news as well.
Yeah, no, that is a good point. They're it's kind of something that Mike alluded to earlier, is that they are kind of trying to change their entire image. Whereas it was like that. I can attest to it from Comic Related, where they had to vet everything. They had to vet who you talked to and what questions you asked, and they'd have to see the article before you could post it. It was very strict. Their whole policy on everything, and they were very tight-lipped about press stuff in general. And now they've completely flipped the script where they're open to all kinds of stuff. And with Comic Frontline, we've got interviews lined up with some of their top people, and it's kind of interesting the way that they are changing the entire dynamic, because they've realized how wrong they were in so many different levels and so many different directions that they're trying to, and obviously it's a PR spin. They're trying to make themselves look good again, and that's par for the course, whatever. But I still see it in general as a positive thing, regardless of all the stuff around it. I don't know about you guys.
Absolutely. Oh, I absolutely agree. I'm looking forward to almost every book in Rebirth for the first issue, just to see where they're going. I like that on Frontline I made a top 5. A lot of the top 5 things I was hoping for and predicting actually came true with a lot of the points that they made during this panel. This is the first panel I actually sat down and watched from beginning to end with no skips whatsoever. So that says something. If they actually got me to sit down for however long it was to watch their entire panel for even books I didn't care about, I wanted to hear what they had to say.
Ron, I'm curious, because I know you don't read a whole lot of. I mean, I know you still read comics, but I know you don't read a whole lot and probably very little DC. Are you even intrigued by any of this, or is it just?
Oh yeah.
No, I was asking Ron. Sorry.
Oh, Ron! I thought you said me.
No.
I didn't hear the word Ron. Oh, okay.
No, I heard Ron.
I didn't hear. He's cutting out on my end.
No, hey, look, the kicker with this is, I mean, I'm not up to speed with it, and again, it's just the point to me is, and I'm going to reiterate what Gordon said to a degree. How much change can you have if Didio's still in charge?
True.
Okay, it's like if you're going to make changes that people are going to believe, then you need a new administration. You need a new head. You need new guidance. You need a new direction. Didio's saying, "Oh, I made mistakes, so this is going to be the new stuff." And I'm like, well, how old are you? You've been doing this for a lifetime. What new stuff are you going to give us? We should have somebody new. I'm listening to this talk, and I'm wondering if DC isn't, the stable hands who, accidentally left the door open and all the horses ran out, meaning, i.e., the fans. All right, they've lost their fans. Yeah. So now the idea is, how do we get them back in the stable? All right. Well, obviously, you're not going to do it by throwing rocks at them or criticizing them or whatever. If you want the horses back in the stable, you better get out some apples and sweets that are going to tempt them and lure them to come back and give it a shot. And this is what this Rebirth seems to me like. Okay, allegorically, it's the new sweetener. It's the new fly, the honey to bring back, your lost fans and hopefully maybe get some new ones along the way. Will it work? I'm not personally familiar with what they're going to do to the titles, but I've been a fan long enough, and guys, the new 52 isn't that old, okay? Yeah. So it's like, isn't this, we're rethreading this over and over again. You haven't really changed the administration. You put a new veneer on it, but if that's really the case, then it's not going to last a long time. If DC has a real problem with losing their fans, I would have thought they'd have been a lot more dramatic in how they get them back.
Well, I mean, I can understand your point there, and I agree with it to a degree. Just to touch on some of the stuff that they're doing, and it's still a New 52 universe as far as we know. They're just mixing in elements from other things, like the Detective Comics is going back to its original numbering, and they're continuing that line from that original, that original volume that was obviously pre-New 52. So, that's one of the changes. They've brought Greg Rucka back to Wonder Woman, which, his run is, legendary, whatever. A lot of people love that run. And, stuff like that. I feel like with some characters, they're bringing them back to their core. And, they're redesigning costumes, trying to make it a little bit more familiar, because they drastically changed stuff. So, I think what they're trying to do is give older fans at least some of what they're missing, without giving them exactly what they had before. So, it's whatever. Mike, what do you think about all this?
I watched the video in its entirety as well, and all I did was watch Dan Didio, however they say his name now, because I thought it was that way. But you could see when he was on there, his body language was just, I don't know, he just felt like he was kind of put in his place by Jeff Johns. You know what I'm saying? And I almost feel like that Jeff Johns is the one that's going to be in charge. I really feel that way, because I just think that it's his doing why everything is happening. And I think they kind of listened to Dan in the past, and all his stuff failed when it came to the New 52. Yeah. They were probably like, oh, let's shake it up, let's do this, and let's do that, and let's do this. And the New 52 failed for a lot of people. And I think Johns was a huge fan, and I felt like he said, hey, why don't we do kind of like what I did with Rebirth for
Flash and
Green Lantern and Flash. Why don't we do that?
And to kind of piggyback on Mike's point, it may be, because we don't know the politics at DC Entertainment, it may be that Johns is being groomed for Didio's job. So don't be surprised in the next year and a half to 2 years where Didio says, yeah, we did a good run, we did Identity Crisis, blah, 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 but it's time to turn over the reins. Johns has established himself, and he's revived it. And don't be surprised if Johns becomes the new editor-in-chief, because I think Mike called it. You don't do something like that because you're doing an exceptional job. You do something, you make a move like that, and you have that position because I think Didio knows his days are numbered.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. This was a failure for him and for the DC fans out there. And for him to admit that, it was kind of just like, again, you could see his body language in there. He wasn't the one that was doing all the speaking. Yeah. He was just, of course, he was just like, oh, we'll bring the titles down for this. We want it to be you for the fans and blah, blah, blah. But Jim Lee and Jeff Johns, they were the ones that were doing all the talking, and it was more Jeff than anything. Yeah. And, the $2.99 thing is the sweetener that Ron was talking about for the fans. We're going to bring your prices down $2.99. But we're going to ship it twice a week.
Whoa, okay, all right, yeah. I see. I didn't know that, Mike. Okay,
yeah,
you're right.
Yeah,
that's a marketing gimmick. Yeah. I like that a lot. That hits you in the pocketbook. Yeah.
Right, but even though they're doing it $2.99 a month, they're shipping their major titles twice a month, where they didn't do that before.
Mm-hmm. So it's still $6 a month you're spending.
Still $6 a month compared to if you bought a book once a month. So they're still making the money.
It's $2 more, double.
Yeah, but there's less titles, at least right now.
Less titles.
Right now.
Yes. Right.
So.
Yeah, 14
So-
monthly, 17
Right.
bi-weekly.
But the thing that I can give them, though, is that the Rebirth special that will kick off the whole thing, 80-page book, $2.99. You know, all those Rebirth specials that are introducing those characters, they're all $2.99 also. So, I mean, I can give them that. You know, the true test of it all is to see how long those prices last and how good these stories are told.
Exactly.
If these
That's
stories,
it. That's it.
yeah, if these stories are not told, even though you bring back some of the costumes or some of the characteristics or emotions from these characters that we've known and loved pre-New 52, you know, if the stories aren't good, then people are not going to buy them. And this is a true test for DC, because if this doesn't succeed, I honestly don't know what will happen for them. And I am not a DC fan like all of you guys have. You know, for Ron and Gordon that don't know me as well, I didn't read much DC. I only read Marvel. When I was a kid growing up, I didn't like Batman. I was like, Batman, he's dark, he's scary, he's gritty. You know, I didn't like that. I like the lightheartedness of Marvel. So the only things I ever read for DC in the past was Green Lantern, and I think it was Kyle Rayner days. And honestly, a few issues here and there are some random things. And then right before pre-New 52, when I got back into collecting comics again, it was Blackest Night. And really, I don't know, I think that was about it. And then the New 52 launched. So as a new fan to DC, I was like, wow, this is a perfect time to get to know all these characters by these new issues and this and that. And then when the New 52 comes out, and a month or 2 months into it, all these titles are getting canceled. I'm like, this is what everyone was screaming about with DC?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Well, which way
yeah.
were they screaming? Were they screaming for it or against it?
Yeah. And just this past year alone, when you come out with the DCU, we're going to tell the stories, you know, that you choose to like. It just even got more craziness and out of control. And then, like Chris said, it came to a time where it's just like, yeah, we have to do something, because we don't even know where we're going at this point, because it was all over the place.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah. That's the thing though. You hit it the nail on the head with it has to be good stories. I think that's
Always.
going to be the determining factor for all of us, I believe.
I mean, the days when I was, you know, first getting into comics, guys, okay, to you know, round this all up, the days where, you know, comics were still called funny books, and people looked at them as you know, immature things just to keep, you know, kids happy, are long gone. Okay, the media has grown. It's grown in leaps and bounds over the last 60 years until it's an acceptable literary form, academically and across the board, financially, economically, you name it. And the readers have grown with it. And they're a hell of a lot more sophisticated, knowledgeable. Hey, you give them crap, they're going to know it's crap. Okay? So, yeah, all this is going to eventually hinge on, whether it's successful or not, is on the quality of the product that they give the fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Completely agree. All right, so any final thoughts on Rebirth before we start wrapping up?
I want to believe that this is a good thing and that things will finally get back to normal after 5 years of hell that we've been in with
Yeah,
DC.
and as chiefly a DC fan, I completely understand that, Chris. So, all right, it's time to talk about what's coming out, and going on as we start to wrap things up. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, so on Comic Frontline, the group channel with you guys, I will be having up some new reviews up this week, probably around Friday sometime. You guys can check that out over there. You can also check out my own individual YouTube channel, Comic the Corner 2.0, where you can check out the latest haul videos. Will be up tomorrow, or I'm sorry, tomorrow's Tuesday, on Wednesday. And then you can check out my latest reviews over there as well. And also tomorrow will be a countdown video as well for my favorite comics of the week. If you guys can't check it out over on Comic Book Corner 2.0, you can also listen to it on SoundCloud as well under the same name. So that's always a fun show. And then also, if this is a pretty brand new thing for me that I started this year, which is Comic Book Corner Old School. It's a YouTube channel where I review just comics from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So I'm doing a variety of things over there when it comes to comics, mixing it up. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun over there. So nothing too much right now besides that, and so I'll pass it on.
Cool, awesome. Chris.
All right. Well, this week I have my episode 3 for my my podcast. I'll be talking about Rebirth. I'll be talking about Batman v Superman. So it's going to be a very DC centric episode. I've got a few things planned for Frontline. I didn't get to finish them this weekend because it was, holidays when you have a kid aren't as mellow as they were as they are when you don't have them. So, funny me for thinking I'd actually get work.
Yeah.
No. So I'm going to be catching up with a few things that I have planned for Frontline this week at the beginning of the week. Other than that, I think that's really all I have planned for this week at least. I'm on a week-to-week basis with my scheduling. Once again, having a child, not easy.
WrestleMania.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Brant. WrestleMania. Yes, me and Brant have actually 3 1-2-3 podcast shows this week. We have the one for Raw and NXT, then we've got the NXT Takeover, and then we've got WrestleMania, which I might be doing a live show of.
All right, Gordon.
Thank
yeah,
you,
you're
Brant.
welcome.
I completely forgot.
Okay, well, coming down the pike, I'll be making an appearance at Windy City Pulp and Paper at the Westin in Lombard from April 27th through the 29th. No, not 27th, 22nd to the 24th. I'm thinking of another conference. The other thing is I've got one story with Airship 27 that'll come out whenever, and a couple of stories with Prosay coming out whenever. And I am also currently working on a book for Last Ember Press. To give you the premise, think Leverage meets Sunset Boulevard. And so that's what's been keeping me busy lately.
Nice. Awesome. Ron?
Okay, I'm going to divide these things up between my pulp activities and my comic stuff. Pulp-wise, as I mentioned earlier in the show, one of the big things that Airship 27 tackled and put together over the winter was the biggest book that we've ever done in the 10 years that we've been in business, was the benefit anthology book called Legends of New Pulp Fiction. And it was done for our good friend Tommy Hancock, a publisher, writer in the field as well. And we assembled 62 writers, 35 artists. The book, published via CreateSpace and available at Amazon, came in at over 800 pages. It's an amazing project, and the New Pulp community was fantastic in coming together to do this benefit book. It's still available, like I said. Every single penny of proceeds goes to Tommy. Tommy suffered congenital heart failure last year. He's married, he's got a couple of kids, and we were just trying to, pitch in and help out. So again, sales have been phenomenal. I want to thank everybody in the New Pulp field for helping us out. Now, as far as regular titles, we're back at it this year, and this past month alone, so far, Airship 27 Productions has put out 3 new titles: Rutherford Jones, All-American Sports Stories, and The Dagger Man, which just came out over the weekend. So that's 3 new books in our catalog. You can find all of these at Amazon.com. They're available in hard copy and on Kindle. And one of the biggest things we've done since our last episode is we've partnered up with the good people at Radio Archives, who are slowly taking our 126 title catalog and making audio books of all our titles. And
That's awesome.
It's amazing. It is absolutely great. So far, they've done, I believe, 35 titles. And the way this works is you just go to Amazon to a particular title, where, again, you'll see it available as a hard copy or Kindle, and also now available as an audiobook. So check those out, please, if you can. As far as my own writing of pulp, I'm in the process of writing the 5th Captain Hazard novel, which is long overdue, and my fans have been bugging me about it for like 2 years now. My latest short story was a Black Bat short story, which appeared in the Moonstone anthology, The Return of the Black Bat, which was released last month, again available on Amazon. So that's what I'm doing writing-wise with Airship 27, as I mentioned earlier. We've also now got, again, thank you, Brant, the monthly podcast, the Airship 27 podcast, which is an hour of me and Rob just telling you about what's going on in the new pulp field, the new titles coming out, who the new writers are that are promoting this thing. Pulps are back, people. If any of you understand what I'm talking about, the classic adventure magazines from the 1930s and 40s, new pulp is a resurgence of that kind of fiction and literature, and we're really happy to be a big part of it. Okay, comic-wise, I've got several independent comics that are going to be out between now and the next time we do a show. All the independents are coming from Redbud Studio. Ron Fortier's Tales in the Macabre, Volume 6. Paradise Falls, a science fiction comic, number 2. And my very popular comedic superhero, Mr. Jigsaw, number 14. All are going to be out within the next couple of weeks. Follow me on Facebook or Redbud Studios on Facebook, and you'll get, when and where they're available. And finally, the biggest comic project I've had in a long time, I'm doing a couple of pulp comics for Moonstone Comics. And the first issue of one of those series is called Guns of the Black Bat. And it should be out in April, the month this is going to be aired. So keep an eye on it at your local comic shop. It's, again, from Moonstone. I'm writing it, and the art is by a gentleman from Argentina named Silvestri Silvigni. And believe me, it's just gorgeous artwork. I'm really excited to be working with this guy. And hopefully, fans are going to enjoy the series. And finally, as Gordon also mentioned, he and I will be hooking up because Airship 27, as it has for the last 10 years, will be at the Windy City Paper and Pulp Show in Chicago. Gordon gave you the dates, April 22nd to 24th. If you're in the area, stop on by. There are panels, shows, awards, and we'll give you a little bit of history on what pulps are all about. There you go.
All right. Wow. That's a lot, Ron. You got so much going on.
And I'm supposed to be retired, guys. I'm supposed to be retired. Yeah.
All right. For me, first of all, with Last Ember Press, which Gordon mentioned, and excited to be working on that book with Gordon, and you're very welcome about the podcast, Ron. Last Ember Press, we released 2 titles since the last episode we did, which is Lisa's Fairy Stories #1 is our most recent release, and that is out now. Both you can buy it on lastemberpress.com digitally or physically, and also Chocolate Pancake Ninja, which is going to be a webcomic in the future, so be on the lookout for that. But you can also buy that in print or digital, so we're very excited about those. And we've got my book, Ember, The Last Ember, is finally, all the inks are done. We're moving to coloring and lettering stage, and we're targeting May for that release, so very excited about that finally. As well as Chris's book, which he mentioned earlier in the show as well. So, all right, as far as Zone 4 goes, first of all, I want to take just a minute to thank everybody again. It's 7 years, and you guys have stuck with us. And like Ron said, we've been getting comments saying people missed the show. They want to have it back again, listen to it, and we really greatly appreciate that support. And it's why we keep coming back and doing this. If we didn't get that kind of feedback and support, and from all our loyal Legionnaires, I don't know if it would have made it as long as it has. But so thank you from the bottom of my heart, from all of us, very much for that. We are greatly appreciative of that. All right, so in the coming month or months ahead for Zone 4, I just wanted to talk about a few things that we've got planned upcoming. We're going to be launching a Patreon. If anybody's not familiar with that, it's just something that you guys, if you want to support it, you can, and you get something back for it. Some cool stuff, like maybe we'll do the show more often. Maybe we'll add some other shows. Maybe I'll do a whole video cast wearing my pajamas, since everybody talks about them all the time. Why not? I don't know. So, whatever. We're gonna put it out there. If you guys want to support, you can. If you don't want to, the show's still gonna be free. So it's just gonna help us with the hosting fees and all that good stuff if you desire to.
We accept money also. You could just send us.
That's true.
Money.
That's true. You can always do that. We appreciate that.
And bacon.
Yeah, so
Help feed the
Gordon
cast.
said that already. So there you go.
and there are going to be updates about the Zone 4 comic, which we've been working on for, it seems, a decade now. It hasn't been that long, but it has been years.
Please, I'm getting threatening
I
letters,
know.
Brand. Please.
I know, we're working on it, so be on the lookout.
Yeah, and Ron, you have to understand that guys like me and Brant and Chris and Mike, we all work for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, Gordon, and you'll appreciate this. I actually got an email recently from the colorist on your story, and he had sent me updated pages. He fixed a few things that he wasn't too happy with. So I thought that was interesting. And it brought it back to my mind. I was like, oh, we've really got to get this comic out. So who knows? Maybe if we launch that Patreon, maybe there'll be something in there to help that further along. But yeah, exactly. So that's pretty much it. We're gonna go to a monthly schedule. Like I said, we're on YouTube. Not sure it's going to be whatever cast is available each month and so on and so forth, but it's going to be Zone 4 back on a regular schedule for you guys, and we're glad to be back. We're going to be adding other shows here and there as we're ready to launch them. We're still talking about that and developing them. The goal is for each one of us on this cast right now to have our own show, but with schedules and everything, it's going to take some time to implement all that. But just be on the lookout for some new cool stuff from Zone 4 in the near future. So that's going to wrap us up. Chris, you want to read us out? All right.
Yes, I will. Yay, I get to do the issue. Okay, here we go.
Had to find it, didn't you?
The anniversary. I'm sorry, I was looking for the link thingy while I was doing. Okay, shush. This is my clothes brand. Don't ruin it for me. You're ruining it. You're ruining it for me. Stop it. So, we'd like to thank the official band of Zone 4, the Ray Wall Band and Society's Plague, that you hear on the audio version of the show each episode, which you'll probably be hearing on every version of this episode. We're also proud members of the Comics Podcast Network, as Brent said before. You can find us on comicspodcastnetwork.com, YouTube, Stitcher, iTunes, and of course, zone4podcast.com. If you have any comments, questions, which I have no clue why, or suggestions for us, send it to zone4@comicrelated.com. And as always, thank you for watching or listening. You are now leaving Zone 4.
Good night,
We'll
all.
see you again in 7 years.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
Have fun storming the castle.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Alright, mateys.
Tomatoes at
Arr.
Arr.
This is only a test for the X-Men.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production.